12 worst tragic stories about old Hollywood's actresses. Here's my vote. Explore old Hollywood's legendary actresses' untold stories of heartbreak, scandal, and shattered dreams. Your vote matters. Let's dive in. In the early days of Hollywood, Tinseltown held out starry-eyed dreams with a promise of fame and fortune. But the price was often steep. During the Roaring '20s, Hollywood held the allure of wealth and glamour for the fortunate few, while for others it became a realm of debauchery and excess. As noted by 1920s fashion and music, young women from across America and beyond were drawn to this captivating world, seeking their shot at stardom. Yet, the reality was harsh. For the majority of aspiring starlets, success remained elusive. Stranded by shame or poverty, many hopefuls found themselves toiling in menial jobs as they waited for their breakthrough moment. Some even resorted to the shadowy realms of sex work to survive. Even those who managed to rise faced adversity, navigating a male-dominated industry where the metaphorical casting couch, as highlighted by Variety, often demanded compromising choices. Long-term contracts and undesirable roles were the norm, and actresses were often forced to uphold a carefully curated image. These pressures took their toll. Alcoholism, erratic behavior, and tragic fates plagued many. Take a look at some of Hollywood's golden girls whose lives took heartbreaking turns amidst the glitz and glamour of the era.
$2,000? Oh, no. Will wouldn't do that.
Oh, no. Brother Willie wouldn't do that.
Number 12. Barbara Payton's fame gets to her head. Barbara Payton, born as Barbara Lee Redfield in 1927, was a prime example of how not everyone in the golden years of Hollywood could handle the intoxicating allure of fame. Her story, as reported by Vintage News and Glamour Girls of the Silver Screen, begins with her early marriages before she caught the eye of Universal Pictures in 1948. The glamour and spotlight of Hollywood life beckoned her, and she was soon immersed in a world of nightclubs, high-profile affairs, and reckless choices. One infamous incident involved her entanglement with the already married Bob Hope, which ultimately led her to being fired from Universal. However, her journey in Hollywood continued as she signed with Warner Brothers, appearing in a total of 14 films between 1949 and 1955. Yet behind the glitzy facade, Barbara's life was going out of control. Her tumultuous love life included a third marriage to actor Franchot Tone, and a fourth to a fisherman named Tony Provas, both of which ended in divorce. Her struggles with alcoholism manifested in bounced checks and even a shocking incident where she was found sleeping on Hollywood's Sunset Boulevard, dressed only in a bathing suit and a coat. In 1962, as recounted by the San Diego Reader, Barbara Payton's tragic descent was documented by bartender-turned-writer Robert Polito. He vividly remembered her stumbling into a Hollywood bar called the Coach and Horses, a shadow of her former self, drunk, overweight, but still willing to share her thoughts with anyone who would listen. Polito transcribed these conversations for her autobiography, ghostwritten by Leo Guild in 1963. Regrettably, just 4 years later, Barbara Payton's tumultuous journey came to a heart-wrenching end. She was found dead at her parents' home in San Diego. Number 11. Anne McKnight. Murder by husband. Born in Connecticut in 1906, Anne McKnight's life took a dark turn that would unfold as a nightmare. As recounted by Hollywoodland, Anne's early years were marked by geographical shifts, with her family eventually settling in Denver, Colorado. Census records from 1920 provide a glimpse into her life at that time, but her destiny was about to lead her down a much darker path. In 1927, Anne and her sister Ada moved to Hollywood, driven by a shared passion for acting. Ada, who went by Joy McKnight, managed to secure a role in the 1928 movie Bittersweets. However, for Anne, opportunities were scarce, and she found herself relegated to minor roles as an extra and occasional dance gigs at local clubs. It was during this tumultuous period that Anne crossed paths with William Burkhart, a man whose demons would lead her to her tragic demise. In 1928, Anne married Burkhart, unaware of the horrors that awaited her. He was an abusive drug user and alcoholic, and their relationship quickly deteriorated. Around a year after their marriage, Anne summoned the courage to escape from the clutches of her tormentor. Fleeing to her sister's home, she initiated divorce proceedings to break free from the cycle of abuse. But Burkhart, driven by a sinister agenda, managed to locate Anne and tricked her into a supposed reconciliation. In a shocking act of violence fueled by alcohol, Burkhart subjected Anne to a brutal assault, shooting her 5 times. He callously declared to a neighbor, quote, "You might think that I am stiff, but my wife is stiffer." The extent of the brutality was further exacerbated by his violation of Anne's body. Burkhart's actions were met with swift justice as he faced a trial covered by newspapers, including the San Bernardino Sun. The trial concluded with a guilty charge, and in 1932, Burkhart met his end through execution by hanging. He was laid to rest in Hollywood Forever Cemetery, not far from the final resting place of the woman he mercilessly murdered, Anne McKnight. Number 10. The death of Gladys Brockwell was way too early. Intelligent and multifaceted, actress Gladys Brockwell's life was a story of early promise and tragic end. Born to a struggling chorus girl in the 1890s, her trajectory into the spotlight was destined from a tender age. By 3 years old, she was already gracing the stage, and in 1913, she made her debut in the film The Rattlesnake, as chronicled by Silent Hollywood. Gladys quickly made her mark in Hollywood, with Fox Studios recognizing her talents and adding her to their payroll. Her dedication to her craft was evident as she transitioned to full-length films in 1917, marking a pivotal step in her career, as documented by IMDb. Yet while her professional life was blossoming, her personal life echoed the complexities often faced by Hollywood actresses. In 1918, Gladys took a decisive step by divorcing her husband of 3 years, Robert Broadwell. Her candid statement in court, quote, "He never took me out anywhere," end quote, revealed the underlying strains in their relationship. Undeterred by personal setbacks, Brockwell's star continued to rise. Her breakthrough came with the leading role in Lights of New York in 1928, as highlighted by Hollywoodland. Tragedy struck in 1929 when Gladys embarked on a fateful evening ride with advertising executive Thomas Brennan. A cinder in Brennan's eye caused their car to skid off the road, hurtling 75 feet down an embankment, flipping multiple times and entrapping them underneath. The catastrophic accident led to Brockwell's untimely demise on July 2nd, succumbing to massive injuries. While some reports suggested burial, Find a Grave asserts that Gladys was cremated with her ashes entrusted to her mother. Number 9. Baby Peggy's parents spent more than she earned. The story of baby Peggy, born Peggy Jean Montgomery in San Diego in 1918, is a heart-wrenching tale of how a child star's promising career was marred by family greed and tragedy. As documented by IMDb, this expressive young girl with her distinctive bobbed black hair had already become a star by the tender age of 2 in 1920. She was a prodigy, starring in approximately 150 short films and a handful of feature films during her brief but meteoric career. Baby Peggy's talent and charisma earned her the moniker Hollywood's $1 Million Baby, as her father adeptly negotiated $1 million contracts on her behalf. The fervor surrounding her career extended beyond the silver screen, with Baby Peggy dolls, jewelry, and a plethora of memorabilia flying off the shelves, a testament to her immense popularity. Yet, amidst the dazzling lights of stardom, Baby Peggy's childhood was slipping away. In her own words, she once confessed, quote, "I didn't know what a regular kid was because I didn't have any friends," end quote. The relentless demands of show business left her with no semblance of a normal childhood. Tragedy struck when Baby Peggy's career abruptly came to an end in 1924. A salary dispute between her overambitious father and a producer led to the cancellation of her contract, as reported by Variety. The financial woes continued as her parents discovered that her grandfather had stolen all of her hard-earned money, leaving her penniless. In a bid to revive her career, Peggy tried her hand at vaudeville, but the family's extravagant lifestyle crumbled in the face of the Great Depression. Their Wyoming ranch, once a symbol of opulence, was lost, and the family's fortunes were dramatically reversed. Undeterred by adversity, Peggy transitioned into a different role within Hollywood, working as an extra during the 1930s. However, her true passion lay elsewhere. As she reflected, quote, "At 8 years of age, I was determined to become a writer," end quote. And so, she did. Rebranding herself as Diana Sarah Carey, she authored at least 5 books before passing in February 2020. Number 8. Jean Harlow. From blonde bombshell to frail actress. Long before Marilyn Monroe captured the world, there was Jean Harlow, the original blonde bombshell of Hollywood's golden era. However, the story of Jean Harlow is not just about the actress herself, but also about the intricate dynamics between her and her mother. As recounted by Country Living, the elder Jean Harlow had aspirations of becoming an actress. But when that dream didn't materialize, she saw the potential in her daughter and fervently encouraged her journey into stardom. Born Harleen Carpenter, the young actress-to-be had an unexpected encounter that would shape her destiny. Visiting Fox Studios with a friend, she spontaneously introduced herself as Jean Harlow, a moniker that would become synonymous with allure and glamour. Despite her mother's aspirations, Harleen's initial interest in acting was lukewarm, and she even eloped at the age of 16. However, by 1928, Harlow's passion for acting was ignited, propelling her to leave her husband behind and embark on a remarkable journey that saw her appear in an impressive 43 films over nearly a decade, as documented by IMDb. Yet, her life was not without its share of hardships and scandals. Mysterious circumstances surrounded the death of her second husband in 1932, and her relationships with married men made headlines. Her childhood struggles with illnesses such as meningitis and scarlet fever, as revealed by Jean Harlow's official website, had left their mark. An emergency appendectomy and rumors of her puffy appearance attributed to excessive drinking added to her challenges. During the filming of her final movie, Saratoga, Harlow endured not only an acute case of sunburn, but also a throat infection and influenza, as chronicled by history. Her health was already fragile, and she was ultimately diagnosed with kidney failure. The world mourned as the original blonde bombshell's light faded at the young age of 26. Number 7. Rita Hayworth. A look at the dual personalities. Born as Margarita Carmen Cancino in the heart of Brooklyn, as reported by Vanity Fair, Rita would ascend to become the quintessential Hollywood sex symbol. However, beneath the glittering facade, a haunting past cast a long shadow over the actress, revealing a dual personality that few knew existed. As a child, Rita endured a painful and traumatic upbringing. Her vaudeville star father subjected her to verbal berating, physical beatings, and even sexual abuse as the dark secrets of her past would later unveil. These scars remained etched deep within Rita's psyche, hidden behind the dazzling smile and enchanting allure that would captivate audiences worldwide. Remarkably, Rita's talents extended beyond the silver screen. By the tender age of 12, she was already an accomplished dancer, laying the foundation for a career that would redefine Hollywood. Gold Derby notes several groundbreaking achievements in Rita's career. She was the first actress to share the screen with legendary dancers like Fred Astaire and Gene Kelly, cementing her status as a cinematic pioneer. In the 40s, she became one of the first pinup girls, an emblem of desire for a generation. Rita's personal life was as tumultuous as it was glamorous. She embarked on 5 marriages and engaged in numerous affairs, a desperate search for the elusive love she craved. Perhaps the most astonishing chapter of her life was her marriage to a prince, marking her as the first American actress to enter royalties in her circle. Later in life, she would also become the first prominent celebrity to publicly raise awareness about Alzheimer's disease. Her filmography, spanning from 1934 to 1972, is a testament to her enduring talent and remarkable career. However, behind the scenes, the Criterion Collection aptly observes that the Rita Hayworth the world knew was a carefully crafted facade, shaped not only by her own hands, but also by the manipulative actions of her father and the betrayals of her husbands. In the twilight years of her life, a stark contrast emerged. Those who encountered her, like actress Shelley Winters, were baffled by the sight of Rita, hidden beneath layers of coats, weeping at a Hollywood party. It was a poignant reminder that the woman who stepped in front of the camera was an entirely different personality from the one that hid in the shadows. Tragically, Rita's battle with Alzheimer's began in 1971, leading to her diagnosis in 1980. She succumbed to the disease in 1987. Number 6. Peg Entwistle, the tragic tale of the Hollywood sign girl. Peg Entwistle's name echoes through Hollywood's history, but it's a name forever tied to a tragic end. Her suicide by leaping from the iconic Hollywood sign, back when it still bore the letters Hollywoodland. Born Millicent Lillian Entwistle in Wales, her journey to America was marked by adversity from the start, as recounted by Harper's Bazaar. Life proved relentlessly challenging. In 1921, her mother passed away, followed by her father in 1922. In 1929, during a tumultuous marriage to Lee Keith, she testified against him, revealing harrowing abuse that included him physically assaulting her. After parting ways with her husband in divorce, Entwistle began to thrive in New York's Theater Guild, although her ambitions were boundless. "I would rather play roles that carry conviction," she boldly declared, yearning for the bright lights of Hollywood. Her chance to pursue a screen acting career came when the Theater Guild ventured to California. While she pursued her dreams, life was far from glamorous. She lived with her uncle, struggling to make ends meet. Despite the challenges, she continued to grace the stage, earning accolades for her role in a play titled The Uninvited Guest. Finally, in 1932, Entwistle secured a role in the film 13 Women. However, her hopes were cruelly dashed when nearly all of her scenes were mercilessly cut, leaving her with a mere 15 seconds of screen time. This devastating blow pushed the fragile actress into a deep abyss of depression. On what would become that fateful day, she told her uncle that she was meeting friends. Instead, she ascended a workman's ladder, ultimately perching herself atop the letter H of the Hollywoodland sign. With a heavy heart, she took a fatal leap into the abyss below. 2 long days passed before her lifeless body was discovered. In a poignant twist of fate, her ashes were interred next to her father's in Ohio, far from the bright lights of Hollywood she had aspired to conquer. Number 5. Marion Davies, the mistress of a media mogul. Marion Davies' journey to becoming a legendary silent film star was a story of talent overshadowed by scandal. Despite grappling with a debilitating stutter, as revealed by Deco Films, Davies was well on her way to stardom when she crossed paths with newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst in 1917. At the time, she was a youthful 21, while he was a mature 55, and already married. Their entangled love story, as reported by Fascinate, would go on to become one of Hollywood's worst-kept secrets. Hearst, more than just a lover, became an integral part of Davies' career. According to Hearst Castle, he not only produced her films, but relentlessly promoted her in his newspapers. Together, they founded Cosmopolitan Productions, marking an unprecedented collaboration between a media mogul and a Hollywood star. Yet, despite Davies' undeniable talent, her career was often overshadowed and dismissed as the result of Hearst's influence and patronage. In 1941, Orson Welles unleashed Citizen Kane, a cinematic masterpiece that drew striking parallels to Davies and Susan Alexander, a character unmistakably inspired by her. The film, as noted by All That's Interesting, subjected Davies and Hearst to public ridicule, exposing the intricacies of their relationship for all to see. The media didn't just focus on their high-profile parties, which drew the rich and famous, but also on Davies' remarkable sacrifice. She sold a staggering $1 million worth of her own jewelry to bail out the financially struggling Hearst Corporation in the late 1930s, a testament to her loyalty and devotion. However, when Hearst pushed too aggressively to secure Davies an Academy Award nomination for her role in Peg, Oh My Heart, the Oscars didn't respond as expected. She never received another nomination, and her career slowly waned. To cope, she turned to drinking, and the glory days of her cinematic stardom began to fade. Tragedy struck again when Hearst passed away in 1951. The LA Times reported that every trace of him, including photographs of him with Davies, was forcibly taken from her by Hearst's family. Davies' later years were marred by illness, battling cancer, and she ultimately succumbed to the disease in 1961. Number 4. The biggest lie about Frances Farmer. It's time to set the record straight regarding one of Hollywood's most enduring myths. Despite persistent rumors and claims, actress Frances Farmer of the 1930s did not undergo a lobotomy during her tumultuous life. The truth, as clarified by sources such as KCET, reveals that Farmer did find herself in a precarious situation in 1943. She was arrested at the renowned Knickerbocker Hotel for unpaid DUI fines and was reportedly discovered in a distressed state, disrobed and in the midst of a manic episode fueled by alcohol. Understandably, her behavior during this incident made her less than cooperative with authorities. Subsequently, in 1944, as reported by the Evening Star, Farmer's mother took the difficult step of having her committed to Washington's Western State Hospital. Her stays there were intermittent, spanning until 1950. In a revealing episode of This Is Your Life in 1958, Farmer herself spoke candidly about her struggles, attributing them to a nervous breakdown. She asserted that she emerged from this challenging period without ever undergoing a lobotomy. Afterward, she deliberately chose a life of relative obscurity. As History Link corroborates, Farmer continued to grapple with alcoholism and her inner demons, leading to intermittent setbacks even as she made brief returns to television. Her tumultuous journey persisted throughout her life. However, it wasn't until 8 years after her passing in 1970 that writer William Arnold introduced the false narrative of a lobotomy in his biography of the actress. Fortunately, as All That's Interesting confirms, Arnold's account was discredited in 1983. Her legacy endures, even receiving musical homage on Nirvana's 1993 album, In Utero, with a song titled Frances Farmer Will Have Her Revenge on Seattle. Number 3. Lupe Velez. A Desire to be Remembered. There's a memorable and somewhat darkly humorous scene in the TV series Frasier, where Roz Doyle shares the tragic tale of Lupe Velez, the Mexican actress who tragically ended her life in 1944, as documented by Find a Grave. However, Velez's life was marked by anything but humor. Born in 1908 into a tumultuous and violent environment, Velez's early years, as revealed by Mysterious Facts, earned her a reputation as a Mexican Spitfire. Her mischievousness as a child even led to her being placed in a convent. Unfortunately, her penchant for trouble continued into adulthood, and she was no stranger to violence. Accounts suggest that she was involved in incidents such as stabbing and firing a gun at her former lover, the actor Gary Cooper, as reported by Los Angeles Magazine. In her own words, she once described her life story as that of a devil, confessing, quote, "I am wild. I cannot help it." Velez's turbulent life included a tumultuous marriage, passionate affairs, and an unwanted pregnancy, as documented by Encyclopedia. Ultimately, she added 45 film credits to her name, but tragically chose to end her own life in 1944. The Evening Star reported that Velez was found lifeless due to a drug overdose, discovered by her secretary. However, several years later, writer Kenneth Anger introduced a different and far more lurid version of Velez's demise, suggesting that she was found with her head in a toilet, having regurgitated in her final moments. Number 2. The Tragic Fate of Elizabeth Short, the Black Dahlia. Elizabeth Short, known as the Black Dahlia, had a unique affinity for the color black, which extended from her dark hair to the elegant dresses she favored. She often adorned her hair with dahlias, earning her the moniker that would come to define her, as documented by Find a Grave. Yet beneath this distinct persona lay a life marked by hardship and turmoil. Short's early life was shadowed by her father's departure when she was just 5 years old, leaving behind a large family, as noted by a biography. Strikingly, he later staged his own death, an incident highlighted on the Black Dahlia webpage. Growing up in challenging circumstances and grappling with health issues like asthma, Short's penchant for black attire became a symbol of her autonomy in a world that had dealt her an unfair hand. Her dream of making it in the movie industry drew her to California when her father offered her a place to stay. However, by the age of 19, Short's life had become somewhat unraveled. In 1943, she was expelled from her father's home and faced legal trouble due to underage drinking. Her relationships were fleeting, and by January 9, 1947, she was last seen alive with Robert Manley, who spent the night with her in a hotel and saw her for the final time in the lobby. Sadly, Short's life came to a gruesome end on January 15, 1947. According to FBI records, her body was discovered in a Los Angeles neighborhood, severed in half at the waist. The shocking and horrifying nature of her murder sent shockwaves through the community. Despite extensive efforts, with countless leads followed and interviews conducted, the identity of Short's killer remains an unsolved mystery. Number 1. The mysterious death of Virginia Rapé, victim of sexual assault? In the annals of Hollywood's history, one of its earliest scandals unfolded not in the glitzy streets of LA, but in the heart of San Francisco. At the center of this story is Virginia Rapé, a woman whose life began with a challenging backdrop. Born as the illegitimate daughter of a chorus girl, Rapé's journey was marked by adversity from the start. After her mother's passing, the 14-year-old made her way from Chicago to San Francisco. There, she pursued a career in dress design and modeling. Tragedy struck when her first love, Robert Moskowitz, lost his life in a streetcar accident. Nevertheless, Rapé's heart would find love once more, this time with director and producer Henry Lehrman. By 1921, Rapé had ventured into the world of cinema, amassing appearances in several movies and even securing an award for Best Dressed Girl in Pictures, as recounted by Hollywood Forever. Her life seemed to be on an upswing until one fateful evening, an evening hosted by actor Roscoe "Fatty" Arbuckle at San Francisco's St. Francis Hotel. It was here that Maud Delmont, identified by Smithsonian as a Hollywood madam and blackmailer, witnessed Arbuckle's interaction with Rapé. According to reports, Arbuckle allegedly uttered, quote, "I've waited for you 5 years, and now I've got you," before leading Rapé into a nearby room. Moments later, Rapé's agonized screams pierced the air, and she would succumb to a ruptured bladder a few days later. What followed were 3 manslaughter trials for Arbuckle, marked by extensive media coverage. While Delmont never testified, she freely shared her side of the story with the press. Arbuckle was ultimately acquitted, but the scandal had left an indelible mark on his reputation and financial stability. Today, Virginia Rapé rests in Hollywood Forever Cemetery, her death shrouded in mystery, with the truth behind her tragic end remaining unsolved and enigmatic.
Virginia's death would forever remain one of Hollywood's most tragic deaths.
We've come to the end of these heart-wrenching tales from old Hollywood. If you felt touched by these tales, don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to get more fascinating Hollywood content.